Hello everyone, welcome back to the Anubhav Learning Series videos. In the last couple of videos, we saw how to create an end-to-end Fiori application on top of SAP S/4HANA system. We have seen how to create an extensible database design, how to expose the OData services from that extensible database design, and then we saw how to use batch requests to be able to make a call to the OData services, which you have in the backend, performing CRUD operations. Then we looked at what is a deep insert to make a complicated entities handled using deep insert. And then finally, we saw how to test a deep insert and post request from Postman plugin and consuming these services in a Fiori application. So today I'm here once again with a new video. And today's topic for the video would be Eclipse versus WebIDE. So this video is divided into two parts. The first phase we will discuss into detail of why we should choose SAP WebIDE over Eclipse-based development, and in which cases you would probably prefer to go with Eclipse-based development in your company. Then the second phase of this video, I will show you demonstrating how to deploy the application, the pizza application which we had created inside of our SAP gateway system, and finally consuming it from SAP Fiori Launchpad. So we'll talk about Fiori security concepts, and we'll learn how to deploy our Fiori application back to the ABAP system and then provide an access to the user from SAP Fiori Launchpad. So let's begin our first video. Now, those who are just watching this video and not aware of the previous video, just wanted to quickly show you where can you find the Anubhav Learning Series. So it's exclusively available on my website, onlinefiorytrainings.com. So you can go to onlinefiorytrainings.com, where you will find all the courses which I'm offering on UI5 Fiori, Fiori Launchpad, WebIDE, ABAP on HANA and S/4HANA technical courses with CDS View and analytical apps, and also HANA Access and Access Advanced. Now, if you can come to Anubhav's Learning Series section, you can see on the website over here, you will find the details about my Learning Series videos here. Yeah, so here are those videos which I am talking about, creating simplified database design on S4, and then enhancing it with an OData service, and finally consuming the OData service in an end-to-end Fiori application and testing it locally with Sandbox of Fiori. Now, in continuation to this, I assume that this is the fourth video you would be watching in this continuation. So let's go ahead and begin our agenda for today's session. So let's quickly look at the question which I've received over the email. So one of my students have written an email asking this question to me, and that's the reason I'm recording this video. So I'm here to solve all your problems. Feel free to drop your comments, drop me an email on my email ID if you are facing some difficulties, unable to complete the tasks in your company, you're finding it a little difficult for you to managing the development artifacts of SAP UI5 and Fiori. Please do write it to me. I will create a video for that and post it for you absolutely free. So there you go. Need points to justify the advantage of WebIDE versus Eclipse. My organization has started creating custom applications on Fiori, but only using Eclipse till now, since it's an open source. Since SAP WebIDE is licensed, I am asked to provide return on investment from organization level. As a developer, I understood that WebIDE greatly reduces the development time. I would say effort is the right word here. And also it is the only way to extend a standard Fiori app. Not necessarily. We also have Eclipse Juno, which is an old version of Eclipse, which helps you to do extensions, but not that great advantage using Eclipse Juno. However, let's continue. It would be greatly help if you could provide me some inputs so that I can convince our leadership to purchase of SAP WebIDE. So let's begin, guys, and try and understand what is more superior in SAP WebIDE over Eclipse. So let's get started and try to understand that. So we'll be talking about on different aspects between Eclipse and WebIDE, and just going to do a comprehensive analysis of which is better. So I'm going to consider multiple factors of this analysis together with what comes as an advantage for Eclipse and what comes as an advantage for WebIDE. So let's first talk about the features in the first column, And then I would put here the next column as my Eclipse. What is that there in Eclipse and what is there in SAP WebIDE? So first, let's talk about the installation and availability features of Eclipse and WebIDE. So talking about the installation or the options available, Eclipse comes in variety of options, like starting with Eclipse Juno, then Eclipse Mars, Eclipse Neon, then we have Kepler, we have Oxygen. And based on these different variety of Eclipse, which are absolutely free, you can go to eclipse.org and download them. And this would then be making the Eclipse available in your system. And later on, you got to update SAP WebIDE toolkit to be able to work with this Eclipse system and to be able to build UI5 and Fiori based applications. So if you want to know how to get started with Eclipse based development, how to build your first UI5 Fiori application on Eclipse, please go to my YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, I already have provided the information on how to go ahead and get started with Eclipse based development. So just go to my UI channel and you can just find a playlist over here, and inside of this playlist you will find SAP Fiori Training playlist, and in this you would find a video on how to make use of Eclipse IDE inside of SAP for SAP Fiori based development. So let me just quickly show you the video which I have it here. You can see here, this is the video number 10, Fiori tutorial, SAP Eclipse to create Fiori application. Okay, set up Eclipse to create Fiori application. This is the video which you can go ahead with and learn how to get started with Eclipse to create your first Fiori application. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you don't want to miss any of those videos going forward in the future. So let's come back. So now it's available in all these flavors. However, on the other side, the WebIDE available in 2 flavors. One is SAP WebIDE Personal Edition, and second is SAP WebIDE Cloud Edition, which is for productive consumption for Cloud Edition. So SAP WebIDE Personal Edition, it's mainly for trial purpose for a single developer targeted WebIDE for a UI5 and Fiori based development. And Cloud Edition is offered using SAP HANA Cloud Platform. So SAP HANA Cloud Platform offers you an option to buy a licensed productive usage available ready to use WebIDE, which is configured in HANA Cloud Platform. And when your company have to now spend and buy a license for that. So looking at the cost side, you see Eclipse is free, but here it's not at all free. You have to purchase an HANA Cloud Platform subscription, and then that's where it will enable you to be able to go ahead and start your development. Then once you download and set up Eclipse and WebIDE, what configurations are required? So let's move on to the initialization part. After you got downloaded, you got set up. In Eclipse, especially, you need SAP Fiori Development Toolkit, or I would say SAP UI5 and HTML5 Development Toolkit. As a plugin, you need to import inside of Eclipse. And however, on the side of WebIDE, there is literally zero installation, zero configuration. However, there are some configurations like Git configuration, and if you are using some IoT plugins or some special hat-like plugins, so those plugins needs to be configured. Plugin and Git configuration is required, and also you need to also configure the destination to be able to connect to your SAP ABAP or S/4HANA system, so that your WebIDE can pull the data, make a call to the OData services to be able to deploy the Fiori application, to be able to read the Fiori applications which are standard, so that you can do extensions. All these things are possible once you configure a destination in your HANA Cloud Platform. Or if at all you're using SAP WebIDE Personal Edition, then you have to configure a local destination file inside of destination folder. Yeah, so that's currently the required configuration you need to be able to get started with WebIDE. But it's so simple. Once it's done, it's done. You then have a seamless integration with your S/4HANA system or your ABAP backend system. That's something which is a great feature WebIDE offers you. But looking at the user's footprint, user's workstation footprint, I would say, Eclipse has workspace and workstation footprint. Actually, it needs some space in your local computer to be able to work with Eclipse because you have to download and run it. However, here there is zero footprint if you're using WebIDE Cloud Edition, because you can directly go open the browser and access the SAP WebIDE and then kickstart your development right away without installation something into your local computer, guys. So it's zero footprint. The beauty of this is it's cloud ready, hence you can access it on anywhere, on any device, and anytime. That's the beauty of SAP WebIDE. So if, for example, you are sitting on a beach on your vacation and suddenly your manager calls you and say, hey, there is a bug in the system, could you just give me a patch quickly? You can quickly open the SAP WebIDE in your mobile device and then get started with the changes and push the code back to the repository. Yeah. So this is what is a great feature SAP WebIDE offers you. However, when you have Eclipse, then you got to carry your laptop, you got to open it up, and then you got to make it work. Then coming for the support for UI5 version. So latest Eclipse version, which is Oxygen, supports latest UI5 version 1.52. So today, as when I'm recording the video, the current latest version of WebIDE, UI5 framework is 1.52 in the market, which is only supported by Oxygen. I exactly don't remember what is the maximum Neon supports, but somewhere around 42 or 45 or 48 is what Neon supports maximum. So if you want to get always the latest version of UI5, then you should make sure that you are going ahead and using SAP WebIDE. That's a better approach. So here again, it depends on Eclipse version what they are supporting. So Oxygen supports 1.52. However, WebIDE is always timely updated into the cloud. The push is being done, and then you have always the latest UI5 version to which you are hooking into. However, it again depends on what is your bootstrapping is doing. You can also don't necessarily need to always have the bootstrapping done locally. You can always reference your bootstrapping to a Akamai server, which and then you can always refer to the latest UI5 framework library. That again depends on your bootstrapping. But however, as a development tool, this is the version what Eclipse and WebIDE support. So as and when there are new things getting released, new versions getting released, WebIDE adapts to it pretty well. However, in Eclipse, you got to do and manually update your development toolkit to adapt to the new version, and accordingly also use your right Eclipse. Okay. So that's about overall your initial setup and initial development. Now, so all these features which we discussed are more in terms of initial setup, configuration, and development. Now moving on to the real development experience. What are all the different features which as a developer you are looking for to get started with WebIDE as a developer experience? So let's now talk about developer experience with respect to it. So I just do this a quick merge here for the cells and just put this as development experience, developer experience. So let's talk about in terms of developer experience, what's good with what. Okay. So however, Eclipse is free, but if I would say I have to give ranking in terms of development experience, definitely WebIDE wins my heart because it has a lot of rich features specifically designed to support you the development process of UI5 and Fiori based application. The first major advantage is templates. So you are new to UI5 world, you are not aware of much of the standard practices like component.js, router, route match handler, manifest.json, I18N, all these things which I covered in my UI5 course mainly. You are not aware of it, you just want to get started, but you still don't know what are all the best practices you should follow. So the best and easiest thing you can do is get started with WebIDE templates. There are a lot of WebIDE templates available like worklist. You have templates for master detail. Okay, you have for UI5 toolkit templates. So a lot of different variety of templates are available to kickstart your custom Fiori application quickly and matching to the SAP standard. So however, on Eclipse, you don't have no templating available, but here you have great option to quickly get started with your application development using templates. Then coming about the complexity of the application. what kind of complexity it can handle. So when it comes to Eclipse, it only supports a lightweight Fiori application, not so complex applications really. So however, it supports everything. You can go ahead and work with it. There's no problem, no doubt about it, absolutely no doubt about it. But it's not recommended to build complex applications using Eclipse. However, it has complete support with the UI5 framework as well as its libraries. But yeah, we usually don't build complex applications using Eclipse, where especially you have a lot of call back and forth going between the back end and front end, and it becomes little miserable over a period of time. So maybe simple application, I would recommend you to get started with Eclipse. But as and when you're getting for more bigger and complex Fiori applications, you should of course look forward for WebIDE. So that's just a recommendation from my personal opinion. Okay, but still there is no difference. You can of course go ahead and build it. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Then comes is the plugin support. As I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of variety of applications you can build it today, like hybrid application development toolkit. You have it. IoT based applications, you can build it. So WebID gives you great integration with these external plugins. However, on Eclipse, I am not aware if it supports hybrid application development toolkit plugin explicitly along with it. So WebIDE definitely yes. In that case, you should go with WebIDE. What about other stuff? For example, analytical Fiori apps. So if you want to create an analytical Fiori application, like the one which I've explained in my S4HANA tutorial. So please go again on my YouTube channel. You'll find some ABAP on HANA and S4HANA tutorial playlist where you can find how to create analytical annotation based applications using CDS views in S4HANA. So that's something WebIDE supports very, very well. There is a concept called Fiori elements. Okay, Fiori elements like a smart filter app or analytical list page app, or probably an overview page app. So Eclipse doesn't support templating for those kinds of app. However, WebIDE does. That's what I love about WebIDE, especially when I'm working on S4HANA products where I have a lot of CDS views with annotation concept. I can quickly go ahead to WebIDE and build a ready to use consumable transactional, analytical, or read operation based Fiori applications quite easily. That's the beauty of SAP WebIDE. I love this feature, which it does so nicely. Then coming on to cross origin resource sharing issues like connecting to your backend system. So this is also a headache when you use Eclipse. You need to configure many times the proxies. You need to also add your proxy projects to the Tomcat server, local servers, and then do a redirect to your gateway server. Or sometimes you got to go back to the web.xml, the container file, and there you need to provide the proxy details, the gateway server URL, and it's many times gives you like cross origin resource sharing issues like CORS doesn't permit, okay, while you're connecting to your backend system. Sometimes become very tricky connecting to your backend system from Eclipse. Yes, it's possible, but it's not easy with Eclipse. However, WebID is just like butter. It's so smooth. You just configure your destination and you're done. You are seamlessly connected to your backend system. Anytime you can check out the files, you can check in the files, you can deploy the changes. It's so seamless, works very well. And also when you're doing local testing, you can make use of the OData services exposed directly from your gateway system or S4 system. So that has a very nice support for avoiding any kind of cross origin resource sharing issue, especially consumption of OData services. Okay, these are all the benefits of WebIDE. Then moving next, what about search capabilities? So if I talk about search capabilities, if you want to search something inside of your files, I would say Eclipse wins in this game because I don't have such a great search capabilities with WebID. Let me just quickly show you one small example. So here is my Eclipse environment, my pizza application. I'm just gonna quickly do some search. Let's say I want to search for pizza. Which are all the files have pizza inside. So I can just come to my Eclipse project, do a Control H, and I can just go to my file search capability, and then I can just put here pizza. And I can, of course, put a lot of different variety of, wildcard characters over here for searching, and then I can just do a search, and it searched inside of my whole of the project and finds all the matches and quickly gives me the results here on my screen. You can see all the places it has done a search for me quite fast, and it has got me all the results. And the beauty, I can do a one-step replacement of this text inside of my Eclipse. So that's something which is a great feature Eclipse provides me. However, sometimes if I want to do a multi-replace in multiple files in Eclipse, in WebIDE, that becomes a little tricky inside of WebIDE. Yeah, so there is an advanced search and replacement capability which I just demonstrated. It's there in Eclipse, but with WebIDE it's a little more challenging. So maybe if I just go quickly to my my Fiori application for the pizza which we had created the other day, you would find that this application I don't have a really search capability over here to something search inside of the whole project. Okay, so that's something I don't have it, which sometimes I would need to replace multiple or a word inside of the entire multiple set of files. Okay, so that's a beauty of Eclipse over there. There the Eclipse has definitely an advantage, but however it's like not something which you must need it. Okay, then moving next, just one quick update, guys. In my on my website, if you just go back to the video over here, you can see download source code. I have already uploaded the source code for our project Pizza application as a Eclipse project as well as WebIDE project as well. So both I have uploaded here, guys. You can download this one. You can use for WebIDE, and this one you can use for Eclipse. If you are using Eclipse, you can go ahead and check it out. Okay, now coming back, what is the next advantage? So if you talk about now the extensibility, okay, let's talk about extensibility later. Let's talk about deployment. Now, once again, deployment in Eclipse is little difficult. However, yes, you have a plugin in Eclipse which says ABAP repository plugin, with which you can right click, do a share project, and then you can say, commit and activate your project directly in ABAP repository. It does that. However, you can also download the source code and then use /UI5/UI5 repository load report program in ABAP to upload your application, but it becomes little difficult to deploy your Fiori application to the SAP gateway server. But on the other side, WebIDE works like a charm. Okay, it's so seamless. You just right click. Maybe I quickly show you the pizza application which we had built the other day. I can show you here. This is our application. I just say right click, and I'm already connected to my S4 system, and I say deploy to SAP UI5 repository, and I can choose my server. You can deploy from here to different servers directly. As many destinations you configure, those many servers you are connected, you can quickly deploy from here. It's so seamless integration. Looks like as if I'm developing in SEAT. Okay, and it also gives you this nice feature. You can see it at runtime. It compares the version of your Fiori application, what you have built on, and what's the version of your gateway system, the UI5 version the gateway system is having, and it gives you this indicator that okay, it may not be compatibly working together in the target system. Yeah, so this is the great feature which WebIDE offers you out of the box completely. You can definitely would love to see this. Many times I see people built on, let's say, version 1.44 or 52, and the gateway server version is different, it's less, and then when they deploy the apps, some or the other thing is not working. Because how will it work? You built on in the latest version and you're trying to run it on a lower version, then definitely you're going to get into problem. And that's where this feature is available with WebIDE to compare the versions at runtime, and it tells you a kind of a warning that you need to be a little careful. The version between your application and the gateway version is not matching, and then you would probably have an issue later point of time. Yeah, so that's the beauty, I would say, of WebIDE while you're deploying your application to the backend system. Okay, so now maybe just say next, and I'll just put here my name of the application. So maybe I just quickly go back to my S4 system and log in my S4 system quickly. So I just connect to my S4 system and just go to SEAT and quickly show you guys that I don't have any application yet deployed, any Fiori application yet deployed in my local object. and just go to BSP library, and I have 2 applications already deployed. Let me delete them. So I just right click and delete them. I don't keep them. I say delete all. And now I'm going to deploy it from WebIDE, guys. You can see that those got deleted. And I just go back to WebIDE. And I'm just going to give my app name, say Z, Online Fiori Training, Pizza app. And I say my Pizza application. And the beauty here is you can now choose a package from your ABAP system. That's something which is really nice, and there's a nice value help here demonstrating you the package details. Maybe I just quickly go back and create a package inside of my ABAP system. So let me just go ahead and create a package over here. Say create. Maybe I just go directly choose a package here and just give a package name, say Z OFT, Online Fiori Training package, and say display. Since it's not their system, it'll ask me to create a package. Yes, I would say yes, I want to, and just give a short description, my custom development, and just creating into some transportable layer. So of course, this is something your architect would create. You would not be creating packages in the system. Okay, guys, so don't try to create the packages yourself in the system. This is something your architect would create, and they will also choose the right software layer for your custom development. So never do that. And then you can also choose the transport layer, which it will be following to your quality system. That's something all your architect will be deciding. And now I'm just going to create a new transport request. I say Anubhav's custom development. And I'll just put my email ID, anubhav.abap@gmail.com. And just click on save, click on OK. And you would see a new package has been created for me, and that is logged in the transport. And now remember, this transport, I'm going to use same transport to group all my artifacts, be a Fiori app, be it a role, be it a launchpad tile, be it anything which I'm going to create in later point of time, guys. I'm going to put it in the same transport, so logically everything land in the quality system properly. This is one thing which a lot of developers still don't understand properly. They don't do it, and then when it reaches to quality, your half object remains in development, half of them reach to quality, and you will get nice issues in your quality system. And then you will remember, Anubhav, it's not working, what to do? How can Anubhav help you? You didn't follow the transport mechanism properly. You have sent a half packet to the quality from your dev system. You need to be little careful while assigning the transport request. Group them together in a single transport, guys. That's something very important you need to follow. It's a best practice. It's expected from you as a developer to not avoid objects not being logged in the transport properly. So now just go back and put here browse and just search for my package. And oops, it's not displaying, so maybe I just quickly have to go back and refresh. So let me right click once again and say deploy, and just choose my system as a new app, S4HANA server, deploy it as a new application, and it will call it, and I say Z Online Fiori Training Pizza app. And this is what I will be covered in my next part of the video, guys, where I will show you how to now make this app accessible from your Fiori Launchpad. Okay, and now come here to description. I say Pizza app Anubhav, and just put my email ID and just say browse once more time and just search for my package. Oops, it's not showing me my package. There's something wrong. Let me just type in here $TMP. In fact, I guess my connection is not there with backend. Let me just try, guys, one more time. So Z Online Fiori Trainings package, and there you go. You can see my package is available, and I can choose my package and continue deploying this. So say next, and now you can see available transport request in my system. So you see the one which I created just now, Anubhav's custom development. I can choose the transport request, and I say finish. So that's the beauty of WebIDE. However, the same support is also available with Eclipse. You can also see the status of the deployment on the top. by the time it is getting deployed. So you can see deploying to S4HANA server is in progress. Once this gets completed, you would get also deployment completed successful message, and then you can go back and check your application inside of system. Now, the another interesting point, guys, which WebIDE offers me, okay, it gives me the errors. So you can see a couple of ESLint checks which are available. It also gives me an error for those checks. So while deploying, if there is any ESLint checks which are static code checks which are causing any issue, system will tell me that. However, my deployment should have got successful. Let me just go back and check that. So I just refresh my package, and you can see my Fiori application is now available inside of S4 HANA system inside the same package. So static code checks are also available with WebIDE. You need to configure them. So this is available inside of settings. So you can see there are different variety of code checks you can configure inside the system. What should happen when something, some code change, some deployment happens? What should happen when you want to do a check? What should happen when you're writing in? It also doesn't, check automatically inside of system. So there are different variety of settings available here for you to customize and configure your development environment. Okay, so a very nice option to deploy your Fiori app, and you won't even feel that you're outside of your SAP system. Okay. The another important point to note here is it doesn't deploy certain files and folders. So it has something called a git ignore and a project.json file. So if I just go to this file, you can see system is going to exclude the test folder and test.html. These files it is going to exclude, and that's something which is generated automatically by SAP WebIDE, where it puts the local testing files, it excludes them putting inside the main server. And that's the reason you will come back and check here there is no test folder created, which means ideally the good practice is you never deploy HTML files to your gateway system. Instead, what you do is you test them by doing a Launchpad integration. But since in this video I'm not going to show you the Launchpad integration, let me also deploy the test HTML file to the gateway system, so I can showcase you testing right from the gateway system of our Fiori app from HTML file. Ideally, in real-time projects, we don't deploy HTML files to the gateway system because we have the Launchpad, and Launchpad only talks to the component.js file, and it launches the app for your testing inside the Launchpad. It just need component.js. That's the starting point of your application. So let me come here and in .project file. Why it's dot? Because it starts with dot because it's a hidden file, guys. Okay, this is a hidden file. However, you can see it here, but if you go to Windows directory or your Linux directory, you won't see this file being available. It's a hidden file for Windows file system. Now I'm just going to remove this exclude folder and save this, and I'm going to do again redeploy. And so simple, to deploy from WebIDE. Say deploy, and I choose to update my existing application. So how it compares now, what's there new, what's needs to be uploaded, what needs to be changed, and then it does this, and it also have now the same application I'm choosing, and say next and say finish. So now what it does is you will see in a minute that it will compare and it'll say all these existing files will be overwritten. I say fine, no problem, please do that for me. Again, it does the check of static code checks, and if there is any error, system is going to inform me at the end of deployment. And as long as those static code check errors are not hampering you, then the system would ultimately deploy at least this app to the backend system. So we can completely, in some cases, ignore those errors at this point of time. So it's again going on. You can see the deployment process is going on, and right now you don't see the test folder over here. Once my deployment is successfully completed, I can just go back and do a quick refresh, and now I see my test folder is available over here. This was one question asked by one of my student, Anubhav. When I'm deploying certain files, didn't made it available inside my gateway, what to do? This is what you need to do. I'm covering here in this video. Now go to this option called Sandbox, FLP Sandbox HTML, to test your application right from the gateway system. So just come to your HTML file. You can just also right click and just do a test over here. And okay, this fragment cannot be tested. I think the reason is we need the test.html file also to be deployed. So let me try that. I remove it from exclusion and redeploy my project back to the S4 system. So let me just deploy it once again. And usually we keep it as an index.html file, guys. So let me just change the name to index.html file. So I just come back and rename this. Yeah, and just make it as an index.html, because that's a default name what your BSP application will look forward for. And I redeploy the file once again to the gateway. I'm going to update the existing application. The whole process continues as it is. So now I can see the deployment is complete. I just go back to my gateway system and voila, I can see now my index.html file is available inside of my BSP application, which I can go ahead and now test with. So I can click on execute button. So let's see what it does. It is automatically going to launch the browser to launch my Fiori application inside the browser. So it will basically, a BSP application usually always look forward for an index.html file. And as long as it finds that file, it is going to by default going to go and hit the index.html file for execution of your BSP application. So now in a minute, it would be launching my Fiori application. So now I can see the system has launched it, and I'm just going to run the FLP sandbox.html from here. And let's go ahead and see this. You can see my app is launching here. Now, just to be very sure, many times, guys, it may so happen that you would have already, made some changes and deployed it, and sometimes the changes got deployed and they are not working. So make sure that you press F12, right-click on refresh button, and say do empty cache and hard reload sometimes. So then it reloads the whole of application, doesn't take it from cache, and then latest changes are also applicable and available to be consumed inside the system. And you see, I have made one quick change in a minute back, and now as a result of that, it's not working. So the change which I have earlier had was it is actually going to work with the local launchpad. Local launchpad is a sandbox concept. It's covered in my UI5 and Fiori training in detail. So please subscribe to my training if you want to go ahead and learn about those concepts. But for time being, I'll just quickly show you how to fix this up. So you can go back and fix this up directly inside of your Web IDE and redeploy the app. So let me just do this. So I go to FLP Sandbox, and now here, instead of talking to the local sandbox, I'm just going to tell the system to directly instantiate my component directly from here. So SAP UI core, UI component, and then container. I'm just going to give the name equals to my namespace. So that should be my namespace here. My namespace is pizza. And then I'm just going to place this content into the body of HTML. So these are all the code which you typically learn in my UI5 and Fiori training. In those 40 hours of training, I treat you like a kid, I treat you like a fresher, and I teach you all these concepts in detail. Maybe not the context of this video, but this is something what you learn in my UI5 and Fiori training. What does this line means? Okay, for the sake of time, I'm not going to explain this line. Please look forward for my training, and then you would understand all the JavaScript coding which is needed to build a Fiori application end to end. I'm going to redeploy this app. So let me just do a run, deploy once again, and I choose update an existing application to deploy it back. So let me just complete the deployment. So after the deployment is done, I come back and just quickly go to my file and maybe just do a quick refresh here, and just go to your folder, test folder, index.html file, and you just come down and you can see the code gets updated. The code which I put it is now available inside of my ABAP system. So let's go back, and now just going to execute this by refreshing the cache once more. So press F12, right click and say refresh the cache, empty the cache, and refresh my browser window, and you would see in a minute the whole of the Fiori application is now up and running inside of your ABAP server, and this is essentially your gateway server or S4HANA front-end server. Okay, so clear everyone, how do we deploy? And so seamless integration. So Web IDE offers you multiple variety of deployment options. It not just offers you to deploy your to ABAP system. It's very easy, as you saw. It's very seamless. You can deploy. You have also systems like ABAP system or HCP HANA Cloud Platform. If you want to deploy, you can quite easily do that deployment to HCP. However, Eclipse also supports, but there are a lot of things you need to learn about Eclipse, like check-in, check-out, share project. All that thing. You need to also add your cloud system to Eclipse inside of server and then do deployments. Very slow, tedious task to deploy from Eclipse. However, it's pretty simple, straightforward, very easily available option to deploy your Fiori app inside of your gateway system or S4 system, guys. Okay, moving on to some more feature comparisons. So let me just copy and paste this table once again here, and I'll look forward for most features. So what is the next option? Next comes is the Git support. So Git is actually a very famous source code repository system. It's a distributed repository system which is used by majority of your Java, JavaScript, and web developers, including UI5 and Fiori developers, to make sure that you can work in a team-like environment. If you want to know more about Git integration and how to use Git with UI5, please watch my first video on my learning series, where I've taught you what is Git, how to work with SAP WebIDE with the Git repository. Both Eclipse and WebIDE has a seamless integration with Git, so you will not find any issue with the Git with both of these tools. Okay, so it's pretty nice support from Eclipse as well. Then comes to the another interesting point, like configuration. So you have seen that we have done some configuration which was done in Eclipse to configure your system connectivity. However, it was easy with the help of destination in WebIDE. I think I already covered that point. Comes to the code completion. So in Eclipse, you get a lot of good code completion with respect to HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So that's very good support from Eclipse. I've seen, I must say, it supports very good support for code completion with open standards, and to some extent the UI5 controls. However, in WebIDE, you don't get that great support of code completion with respect to HTML and JavaScript, but yet you still get good code support for Fiori in XML views, and sometimes the JavaScript syntax also works with WebIDE. I would say this is something, based on my personal experience, I would say I would give less rating to WebIDE as compared to Eclipse. So it has code completion, yes, it works, but sometimes you find it a little difficult working with WebIDE in terms of code completion. Then comes next feature is annotation editor. Many times you want to build your Fiori application based on annotations, especially the analytical applications. So Eclipse doesn't have any annotation support. However, WebIDE has a great support for annotation editor as well. Then comes is the manifest editor. So WebIDE supports a manifest editor, a very nice graphical based manifest editor. However, in Eclipse, you got to go and change a typical JSON file as a manifest editor. So if you come to your manifest.json file, you have a nice descriptor editor here inside of your WebIDE, which makes it quite easy for you to maintain the details about manifest.json. As you have seen in my training videos already, what is the purpose of manifest.json, how can we add more data sources, routing configuration, all that is covered in my UI5 and Fiori training in detail. Okay, so that's something which is a win situation for WebIDE as well, the manifest and descriptor editor. Then coming in the static code check. Both Eclipse and WebIDE supports static code checks. Now moving to the last part, which is the overall experience of end-to-end Fiori development. Okay, end-to-end Fiori development. You have actually all the great supports provided with the help of SAP WebIDE. However, in Eclipse, I would rank it low, but in one factor, Eclipse win the game, and that factor is when you're working on multiple variety of projects. For example, you're working on ABAP on HANA, where you want to connect your ABAP system, you're working on HANA modeling, you're working with the Java-based projects, as well as you want to work with the UI5 project based out of Fiori user experience. In that case, Eclipse always win the game because you can add multiple variety of developments to the Eclipse. However, in WebIDE, you can only dedicatedly do for UI5 and Fiori. Okay, so this is one major factor why you would also prefer to choose Eclipse over WebIDE because you have multiple variety. But still, I would say WebIDE is better because it has a great support for extensions. So extensibility. If you want to adopt a standard Fiori app based on your need, Eclipse only Juno, and that too very old version, doesn't have a good support, not at all a good support for extensions. Okay, not at all a good support for extensions. However, WebID is built for it. You have a great extensibility support with WebID. Okay, very good support. I will quickly show you. You can launch an extensibility pane in WebIDE, and with the help of that, you can quickly extend a standard Fiori application based on your need. So maybe you can come to WebIDE and you can see an option here called extensibility pane. Right now, it's not available because this is the one which I'm choosing is not a standard Fiori app. However, you can quickly create a custom project out of it and then extend this quite easily. You have also very nice features like going to the team designer directly of your ABAP system. All these supports are there, and one more great support which WebID gives is an editor, which is like a drag drop to quickly model your view. So maybe just quickly show you here. I go to this detail view and say open with layout editor. So this is an amazing stuff which WebID is offering here. You can develop and design your view quite easily with the drag and drop. You really don't have to go and write a complex or edit a complex XML file. It's very, very easy. You can drag and drop any of the control. Maybe I just want to add a switch over here. So just drag and drop this up, and you see the button has been available. You can search for a control. Let's say I want a switch control. So I can drag and drop that control over here. You can go to the control. You can change its properties quite easily. Let's say click here and just save this and just can execute, test it locally, also connecting to your remote system, very easily connectable to your remote system, completely runs on browser, no footprint on your user's computer. These are all some great advantages which makes WebID as a winner in this fight of Eclipse versus WebID for UI5 and Fiori development. My personal experience, if I want to build a Fiori application in my company, I'm a UI developer, I would go with WebID. Gives me great flexibility, great features, and that's all. I think you are clear. You can project these things. So you have a layout editor to increase the developer efficiency for creating the views, okay, for editing views, okay. This becomes definitely an advantage over a long run when you have a complex views to be created. WebID gives you the game. So all in all, my rating, I would go with a WebIDE based development for UI5 and Fiori, guys, and I'm sure you also now can demonstrate this to anybody. I would love to hear your comments. If there are more differences, I'm sure there are many of them which you might have experienced it. Please feel free to put it in the comment on this YouTube video. I would love to hear your comments. Let's share it with the whole world. What do you think about this video? Does it really helping you to be able to define the comparison and convince your manager, your teammates to go with and switch to SAP WebID based development? Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned. In the next video, we will see deploying our Fiori application to SAP Fiori Launchpad, making sure all the configuration and security aspects are met for your OData services as well as your Fiori application. Thank you so much once again. This is Anubhav signing off. Feel free to get back to me. Please do share, like, comment this video. If you do like me to post more videos like this, I would love to hear from you. Feel free to write down an email. And if you're interested, you can all, of course, subscribe to my UI5 and Fiori training. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.